But I mean, like I said, I don't know. I was drinking at the time. I know if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't have done that at all. So,
But it wasn't a one and done, sir. This happened over the course of a couple of months that you, this child, your child. So it's imperative that you get to some understanding of why you would, as a child, that you brought into this world to love and protect.
You're about to see the parole hearing of really one of the worst. And it's he violated his probation, got locked back up, and now has a chance at parole. We'll unpack with what details we have at the end.
Good afternoon, Mr. Taylor.
good afternoon, board, Mr. Taylor.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Friday, June 28th, 2024, and this is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this afternoon, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Nancy Turner, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike Paul.
Good afternoon, panel member Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, you guys.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
John Taylor, inmate number 298766.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for John Taylor, 298766. He is serving a sentence of 15 years, executed, suspended after serving 6 years, followed by 10 years probation for illegal sexual contact victim under the age of 16. He also has a violation of probation. The underlying charges are unlawful restraint second and risk of injury to a child, and an additional violation of probation. The underlying charge is violation of a protective order. Mr. Taylor is required to register as a sex offender for 10 years. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of May 18th, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he has completed the short track sex offender program, Tier 2, and VOICES. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low to moderate range. Mr. Taylor, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Like I said, good afternoon, board. I am Mr. Taylor. Thank you for the opportunity to at least give me parole. I feel I should be out on parole. I have respect for authority. I believe throughout my incarceration that should reflect. I mean, I haven't caught any tickets to say so otherwise that would say I disobey authority. I feel I can follow through with whatever stipulations may be given to me or what have you. I do have work out there. I'm in the union. As a union laborer, I have over 21 years. I have a career. I've accumulated quite a bit of child support debt, over 60 grand. It's kind of a financial burden there. I'd like to start paying on that sooner than later so it doesn't really get out of control. Just get back to normal life. This isn't where I want to be. I know that. So, I mean, I'm willing and able to accept and, do anything necessary. And that's the truth. So.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, thank you for that brief opening statement. We've read the documents available to us and prepared questions to ask you. We'll each take a turn and then we'll discuss your case and make a decision this afternoon. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll start with my colleague, Mr. Pohl.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Taylor.
Good afternoon, sir.
I've really didn't hear you talk anything about the offenses that you committed while you were there. The reason why you're there.
Well, reason being, obviously, I mean, I'm ashamed of what I did. You know, I do work construction and I do drink. It's like potato chips. You can't have one potato chip out of the bag. Anytime I drink, seems to get me in a lot of trouble. So I've been working on my sobriety. I've been going to AA meetings and trying to curb that. I understand it is an issue, and if I am going to be successful, I understand I can't be drinking. You know, and I honestly feel back to what you were saying. You know, if I wasn't drinking, I probably wouldn't have offended, and that's the truth. You know, but I'm not minimizing. I did commit that, and I am wrong. That's the truth.
So you took the short track program,
Yes, sir.
and risk factors that you discovered during that time or what?
I need to avoid stinking thinking, but it taught me cognitive skills to help avoid that. You know, time
When you
management's
say-
a big thing.
You say stinking thinking, or can you be more specific?
Well, obviously, you know, not just out of spontaneous decisions, you know, make smart choices and think about consequences when I do them. Places, you know, people to be around. You know, I don't want to put myself in high risk situation where, you know, I'm apt to, you know, be accused or anything like that. So I just,
What's a high risk situation?
I mean, obviously, you know, me babysitting, it probably ain't a good idea. You know, but with that said, you know, it just anything that would really get me into trouble as far as that goes. I mean, this is my first time ever committing an offense like this. You know, and I gotta avoid incarceration at all costs. I'm getting older. I'm not getting younger, and you know, this isn't where I want to be. I gotta avoid any bad decision making on my part. You know, and like I said, obviously alcohol is one of them because I do feel, you know, if I had that under wraps and I wasn't, it probably wouldn't have made a stupid choice. But you know, that's something else I need to work on. But
So how are you gonna handle that?
I have, like I said, been going to meetings.
Yeah.
If granted parole and released, I plan on continuing that, going to meetings, getting a sponsor, you know, and furthering my sobriety. Because, like I said, I have a real good career. I want to continue working and continue to be successful. I don't, you know, want to be out committing crimes. I do work, you know, and I understand what it's like, and those are things I need to do for myself to succeed.
So one of the pieces here was sexual nature. Another piece here was violent in nature, right? A couple of the underlying situations, right?
Yes.
So can you talk about those?
So what's exactly the question, sir? I'm sorry.
So can you
Yes,
talk
sir.
a little bit about, so there's a piece of this that's sexual in nature. And there's another piece of this which is family violence in nature.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk somewhat about that?
Yeah. And very similar. Alcohol was involved. I was watching my son and daughter that night. My daughter, it was bedtime. My daughter told me no. You know, we got into a verbal altercation, and you know, we were going back and forth for quite a length of time, and I just finally went into the other room. She continued. I picked my daughter up and put her in her room physically. Picked her up, put her in her room. And yeah, it's pretty much got me in trouble. It got me in trouble. And same scenario. If I wasn't drinking, I honestly feel, you know, the outcome probably would have been a little different.
How did you put her in her room?
I physically picked her up and put her in her room. According to her, I picked her up by her neck, which, you know, I don't honestly remember doing, and I'm not blaming the alcohol, but I honestly, truthfully don't remember. But I did accept responsibility for that situation, and you know, not to minimize what happened, because that's not what I'm trying to do either. But I'm not a good alcoholic. I'm not a good drunk. I'm not. And I'm usually not violent, but you know, I mean, I remember growing up, and not to justify it either, but I didn't talk to mom or dad like that. I know what would happen if I did, and you know, I mean, I didn't whack the kids, but you know, I mean, hey, I put her in her room physically. You know, that's something I never really did, and I think it, you know, probably scared her. You know, probably me having one too many drinks scared her too, though. Honestly, you know, I took voices, and that was one thing they taught, how someone else would feel from the other side of the coin there. And, you know, like I said, I'm usually not like that around my kids anyway. Usually I'll have enough common sense to wait to bed and, you know, then maybe start my drinking. I had a little too much that night, and that's the truth. And it probably never should have happened, to be honest with you, but I was at fault, and I wish that's another situation I wish had never happened.
Think common sense and drinking going in the same sentence is a little bit of a problem, right?
For me, it is, yes, sir. It goes out the window.
You know what a protective order is?
Say, order of protection?
Yeah. You know
Yes,
what that
yes,
is?
sir. Yes, sir.
You have one?
Currently,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
What does that mean?
That means I can't attempt to contact, be near, breathe the same air as, stay away.
So in April of 23, you refused to give a specimen. You want to talk about why that was?
I was given, and a refusal sounds real insubordinate. They gave me 3 hours to provide a sample, and I just couldn't go. I did ask for water. They told me I couldn't have water. I didn't give them a specimen, so that was the ticket anyway. That's the truth. I got a ticket there, and cost me 5 days. SAG, and kind of jam me up a little bit.
A little bit. So let's talk about recovery plan.
Yes, sir.
I know that you said you're going to meetings. What else are you looking to do?
Well, I do have a little length of time of sobriety, and I'm not here to tell you I got it, because that's part of the alcoholic disease. It's just I don't got it, and I got to keep myself in check. And I honestly feel, by me working the AA program and attending, doing the book work, doing the step work, you know, getting a sponsor, doing it right, and putting honest effort in to the program, after listening to the speakers that come in here, I feel it's almost better than in an inpatient program, the success rate. You know, it really is. If one, and that's life, that's anything you do. You put the work into something, you get what you put into it. And I feel like if I honestly put the time and effort in, I'll stay on that right track, because I make bad choices when I drink. And I'm sure, obviously, that's kind of, that's present. I can't deny that. I do dumb stuff when I drink. I can't have one drink. I make bad choices for myself, and it gets me in trouble. I don't want to be in trouble.
Bad choices is an understatement, really. How good's your relationship with Counselor Rex?
I haven't had the opportunity to work with him too much, to be honest with you. He was doing the Prime program, which I was fortunate enough to have him in the block, but I see him, he does, I want to say he does facilitate the AA though. He has something to do with it anyway. But usually Bob's the one that facilitates. He's an outside speaker. Bob's usually the one that comes in and brings guest speakers. So,
Okay.
but I think Rex at this facility does do the addiction services part. Oh, this is it's been from Corrigan to
How long have you
Cheshire.
been in Brooklyn?
Oh, going on about 8-9 months now.
Okay.
Give or take a month there.
So when you're released, you want to sponsor your partner in Danielson,
Yes, sir.
and you have a lot of background with heavy equipment and construction.
No, that's I'm a laborer. That's more of the operator, engineer. So, I guess for lack of better terms, I guess my occupational title, I mean, I'm the gopher on the job. I go for like hardware, lumber, move panels, a lot of concrete.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But boy, I'd love to get back to work.
Right. Madam Chair.
Okay, so Mr. Taylor, your son,
I'm sorry. I lost vocals for a minute there.
your proposed sponsor has an 11-year-old son?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if we were to grant you today, we'd probably need to stipulate a halfway house due to your underlying crime, and they'll have to determine whether that's an appropriate placement for you.
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
So in the documents that I read, I understand that you explained your the sexual violence against your daughter as something you did to get back at your wife over money. Did I get that right?
I mean, honestly, I really don't know why I did it. I really don't. Like I said, I was
Then
drinking.
after completing the short track program, you don't have any insight?
My head was not where it was supposed to be. So with that said, I really couldn't. That's not what a father's supposed to do. So I couldn't give you a logical explanation to my actions. I mean, I'm not minimizing it. I'm not denying it. I don't think there's a right answer for that, to be honest with you. I was wrong. That's it.
Well, you know, a lot of people in your position say to us, it'll never happen again. And I say, if you don't understand why you did it, I don't know that you can be certain you will never do it again. So I was looking for some insight. And when I got to the information that somehow this was retaliating against your wife, that really took me aback. Do you think there's is that a truthful statement?
mean, I don't know why I did it. Honestly, I really don't. I mean, it
You know,
probably had
whether
some
you go out-
influence on it. But I mean, like I said, I don't know. I was drinking at the time. I know if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't have done that at all. So
but it wasn't a one and done, sir. This happened over the course of a couple of months that you violated this child, your child. So it's imperative that you get to some understanding of why you would victimize a child that, you know, you brought into this world to love and protect. And, you know, whether you're granted today or you go out to probation, you're going to have to take problem sexual behavior treatment in the community. And I strongly encourage you to dig deep and do that work and figure this out, because there's something that was going on for you that would make that seem a viable choice. And honestly, your repeated assertions about being under the influence of alcohol at the time starting to sound like an excuse.
no, I don't want to give you excuses. No, ma'am.
Okay, well, you can understand from my
Understood.
perspective, you know,
Yes,
it's a way to avoid being responsible for doing something horrific. And when my colleague asked you about, you know, the offenses and the fact that you didn't say anything, you talked about your shame, and you did admit that you did it and that it's wrong. So those are positive. But, you know, having taken the Voices program, I'm wondering if you have an appreciation for the harm that you did to this child. What do you think the impact on her was and will be?
I mean, to be honest with you, there's a lifetime protective order. So I'm her father. Like, I can't change that. It sucks. I got to live with that for the rest of my life. And so doesn't she. And so doesn't she, though.
Okay.
And
This
so
isn't
doesn't
about
she,
you.
though.
The question is
Yes, ma'am.
about the impact on the victim.
She's gonna be without a father now because I did something stupid. I mean,
What-
she's gonna
how
probably
else
hate
would
me
she-
for the rest. She's gonna hate me probably for the rest of her life. And how am I gonna be able to reconcile that? I brought her into this world. Like, I don't even know how to go about
Okay,
fixing it.
again, this isn't about you. The
I know.
focus of the question is on the
Yes,
impact
ma'am.
on the child. And so far, we've gotten she's without a father and she may hate you.
Yes, ma'am.
How about trauma? How about trust issues?
She probably definitely has all that.
What
100%.
else? Mhm.
Trust issues, trauma. I mean, that's enough. I'm not supposed to do none of that to her. I'm her father. I'm supposed to be the one that protects her and like doesn't let those
But
things
you-
happen to her.
You took the Voices program. Are you able to add anything, you know, to the answer about the harm that she's sustained?
I mean,
Nightmares, sleeplessness, anxiety, depression.
anxiety. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Probably all that she's experienced, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to know. I haven't contacted her. I'm not allowed to.
But I'm not, you took the program that should have helped you
Yes,
get
ma'am.
some insight without having direct contact with the victim, which you're prohibited from having. I mean, you know, just, this is lifelong now for her.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So up until, you know, today, the documents we read indicated that you really largely denied the sexual acts and admitted to only touching her breasts. Are you now in a position where you're taking full responsibility for the repeated acts of sexually victimizing this child?
Yes, ma'am. I was wrong. I probably minimizing what had happened. It
Because you
happened more
can't
than
get
once.
ahead of it and you can't, you know,
No, it happened more than once. I can't minimize that or deny that. I won't.
when you had the evaluation by the connection, you hadn't yet taken problem sexual behavior or the short track program there in the facility. And they asked you if you know when someone wants to have sex. And your answer to them was, you just know. And I'm wondering if you have a more nuanced answer now that you've completed the short track program.
Honestly, I haven't really thought about having sex while I've been in here. My main focus has just been trying to get out of here. Like I said, I've accumulated a high amount of debt.
Okay, we've heard all that. I'm gonna bring you back to the question. How
Yes,
do you
ma'am.
know when someone wants to have sex with you?
I mean, their body language, your kissing, all that stuff, like they don't say no. I don't understand.
So, okay. So did the program not address consent?
Oh, yeah, of
What does
course.
consent look like in an intimate relationship?
In an intimate relationship, what does consent look like? They are willing to have sex. They don't say no.
As opposed to not saying no, they need to be saying yes. Can someone withdraw consent when they've already started down that road with you?
Absolutely. 100% they could.
So, you know, for your sake, Mr. Taylor, I would encourage you to think of it as a verbal exchange, not just because we're kissing, it means you're going to have intercourse. You know, that's not a foregone
I guess
conclusion with a makeout session. So,
Yeah, you're right.
you know,
No, I know.
like you need a,
I guess
you
I
need to be thinking
misunderstood
about this in a more
the way you
nuanced
said
way.
it.
Do you know
Yes,
what I
ma'am.
mean by nuanced? It's complicated. So you need to really think things through with respect to what consent and sexual contact looks like. Not that I'm saying that had anything to do with what you did to your daughter, who had, as a minor, no ability to consent to sexual contact. I'm talking about your adult relationships going forward. That answer that you just know concerned me. And so I was hoping you had a better understanding having completed the program. Please give it some thought, sir. Mr. Rodriguez, any questions for Mr. Taylor? Okay. All right. So, Mr. Pohl, give us just a few minutes, please, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's a lot here. I think Mr. Taylor got to the place where he took some accountability for what he did. More so than, as you pointed out, interviews and things like that in the past. He's taken the short-term program and he's taken tier 2, which, you know, alcohol played a role in a great deal of all of this and in his past. There's a lot there with operating under the influence in the past, assaults and things like that, that you would see in offenses that were related to alcohol. He has a sponsor, but as you pointed out, there's a child in the house, which would lead to halfway house, more than likely halfway house, a stipulation for housing, alternative housing. He knows how to work his way around construction sites, things like that. So it's fun I would like to see him have the support of rural community services. I think that being a parole in taking the treatment for problem sexual behavior in the community would be beneficial to him. He's committed to go on some AA meeting sponsorship steps, but I don't know that it went beyond that, which would be really important. I'm open to hearing what other board members have to say on Mr. Taylor.
Okay. Mr. Rodriguez, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I would hope that that the community-based problem sexual behavior he would learn more from that than what he's done in the short track. I think he's struggled with whatever he's learned from that short track training, and I would have liked to see a little bit more extensive relapse prevention plan from him around what he's going to do on the outside, separate from just AA. But it's sad. I would probably consider discretionary parole.
It would amount to about 2.5 years, which is incredibly generous. He's got 9 years of this sentence hanging over his head when he goes out.
That's right.
And 10 years of probation and sex offender registry to follow. You know, it's sad when you can say, like, the one thing he seems to have going for him is that he admits to the sexual offenses. And I too would have hoped that he would have more to share from the program he did complete, or having taken the track one would have been beneficial. I have concerns that he wants to manage his PTSD out in the community with medical marijuana. You know, for someone who is so adamant that his crimes are, you know, a result of his alcohol abuse, I'm not sure that that's a safe plan. We could certainly suggest mental health evaluation and treatment to give him an alternative.
I think the connection would play a huge role in that. There you go.
So,
We have.
so I have problem sexual behavior treatment, no contact with minors without PO's permission, no consumption of alcohol, mental health evaluation and treatment is deemed necessary, and no contact with victim, initials GT.
And halfway house.
Oh, I thought I said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And would we have KS as well, or no? Because she's the person on
Protective order.
the protective order.
We can.
I'm just asking the question.
Well, you know, there's a standing criminal protective order in place, so
Right.
that's for the GT victim. So,
And you seem to understand.
I mean, I can't imagine there's any relationship possible there. Okay. So in the matter of John Taylor, inmate number 298766, there's a motion to grant parole on or after today's date of June 28th, 2024, with the following conditions: 4-year supervision, problem sexual behavior treatment in the community, no contact with minors without PO's permission, no consumption of any alcohol, mental health evaluation and treatment is deemed necessary, halfway house placement, and no contact with victims GT and KS. Do I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, parole granted.
So you're all set. You did get granted parole. You'll get all your paperwork next week.
It's
Yes,
not gonna,
ma'am.
it's as of today's date, it's not going to happen today,
Yes,
especially
ma'am.
with the halfway house placement.
I thank you all for your time.
This completes the parole hearing for John Taylor, 298-766.
Mr. Taylor, you can thank us by doing the hard work ahead of you that is absolutely necessary.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Coordinator, we are all set, but can you keep it on because I do have a case review to do? So just leave the
Hallelujah.
equipment on. Have a great week and I'll see you next week. Thanks for your
You
help as
too.
always.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
We're coming in under the wire, team, even though it feels like 7 p.m.
Let's see.
That was a tough one to grant.
This is truly insane. They just paroled a monster. Tell me, what from this parole hearing made you feel comfortable in any way that he is not a danger to society, that he is not a menace, that he's not an absolute beast? He didn't even have the classic cockroach manipulation skills that we see. It was just a bad hearing all the way around. I don't even know where to start. It's like an overload, a sensory overload of where do I start with this? Do I start with the idea that he's only has to be in the registry for 10 years? Do I start with the idea that the algorithmic risk score that our PhDs rate put him at a low to moderate range? Do I start with the idea that he had a write-up just 2 months before this parole hearing where he refused to go urinate in a cup? He got 5 days in the hole, and you release someone after that? Do I start with where he literally says, I don't remember, it was just my drinking, and then the board saying, well, I see that he at least admitted it? Do I start with where he tells the board he did it to get back at his wife? Do I start with the idea that the time he grabs his baby daughter by the neck in 9/8/2018 was sentenced in 2020, 2 years later, to 5 years jail, but suspended after 1 year probation after 3? And that he then violated that probation on 5/9/2022, which was 2 years after getting that sentence, and he violated it by then what he did to his daughter, the sexual contact. So 2018, he's risk of injury to a child. He's sentenced 1/24/2020. 2 months later, he has the illegal sexual contact with his daughter, and he's found guilty 5/9/2022, which is when he violated the probation for grabbing her by the neck. And he's literally paroled 2 years after this sentencing, after a judge gave him a 15-year sentence, suspended after 6, probation for 10. Why suspended after 6? Who knows? But then parole after just 2 years. Why? Why? He's dangerous. He's a monster. There was nothing in this parole hearing. On the contrary, it was red flag after red flag after red flag. You might as well have just been waving a giant red laser beam. What? We're not crazy, right? I'm not losing my mind. These are the people, and it's strange because sometimes this parole board, and you would have listened to this, interview, and you might have been like, wow, they're doing a great job. They're really getting him. They're really like, they're never going to grant. And then it just like ends with granting. And it's like, why? He just failed he just refused to take a test 2 months ago to see what's in his system. Just for that reason alone. He was blaming his alcohol the entire time. Well, I should have started drinking after they had went to sleep. I would never do anything like that. Sure, I don't remember. It's just my drinking. You know, what do you say? After he grabs his daughter by the neck. In the same sentence, he says, I didn't talk to my mom and dad like that. He's justifying, and then he finishes off everything by saying, oh, well, I'm not trying to make an excuse for it. I have $60,000 in child payments that I want to get back to. It's like, oh, he wasn't talking about how he's with the union for 15 years. He racks up 60,000. That now he wants to get back to paying that cockroach. Really, I just don't know who to be more mad at: the system or the parole board. What judge, after a father who's protecting the children, he violates protective orders? He's clearly dangerous. Here's his record. Thank you, Richard, for providing it. October 10, 2017. It starts with operating under the a DUI. And remember, this only goes back 10 years, so we don't know what's before it. So arrested 10/10/17. It's a criminal trespassing. Sounds like a violation of protective order. Arrested on March 22, 2019, which is a violation of protective order. I mean, this is a classic dangerous. 5 years executed, 193 violation probation. I don't know, the dates are a little off here, but I think what's the important part, not off, but just not in the he has the risk of injury to child committed on 9/18/2018, sentenced on 1/24/2020. Then he violation of probation on 5/9/22. And then you have here, you see the illegal sexual contact, which is 3/1/2020, found guilty in 5/9/2022. So again, it's the dates that are important is the 3/1/2020 and the 10/1/2018. And he's found guilty on 5/9/2022 and then paroled. If you would look at it at 6/29/2024, it's just insane. This is the kind of man that needs to be locked up for really ever, in my opinion. It's his biological daughter. We don't know exactly how old she is, but she's under the age, I think they said, what was it, of 15s? I mean, she could be, with their legislation, it could be maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, I don't know. And he's dangerous in every way. He's dangerous on the road with his DUIs. He's dangerous to his children. He's dangerous to his wife. He checks every box, violating protective orders, violating probation, taking second chances, throwing them out, and they parole him years early. For what? For having like one of the worst parole hearings we've seen? Hey, this is why we do this, because if something happens and then he's in the news and they'll be like, how did this happen? And then people will see, they'll see his parole hearing and everyone will just say, what? That can't be possible. It can't be. Who would grant after seeing what we just saw? And then people will be like, wow, okay. Yeah, the people put in charge to protect us, they're actually not as brilliant as we thought. They're actually not protecting us. Their job, it's interesting, for those who have worked in the corporate world and things like that. There are people put in these large positions who like an innovation for large companies and things like that. And they're literally paid by their bosses, by their shareholders to say no. When someone comes to them and says, we have a great partnership and a strategic blah, blah, blah. There are people that are gatekeepers. They're paid to say no. The parole board should be paid to say no. The the threshold for getting out, in my opinion, should not be based on data for the state about how people are getting released. It should not be based on the concerns about overpopulation. It needs to be based on protecting those who are law-abiding citizens, protecting your constituency. And clearly, if you had that guideline, if you had that ideology, you wouldn't release someone like this. It benefits no one. I would argue it doesn't even benefit him, because what are the chances he's going to succeed? What's your risk factors? What are you going to do not to buy? I won't babysit children because I don't want to be accused of doing anything. Wow. A lot of insight there, bro. Anyways, you probably wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. There you go.